All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another episode of Real Estate Titans, sponsored by Liable Media. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top professionals in our field, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Now, our very special guest and feature titan for episode 296 from beautiful New York City, none other than Abby Palanca. Abby, it's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
The honor is on this side of the camera when it comes to that. And I know the audience
Oh,
are super excited, Abby, to dive into getting to know you as a person, a professional, and just learning so much from someone who's so great at this business. So, without further ado, let's dive into the first question, Abby, which is telling everybody a little bit about yourself. So, who's Abby? Where do you come from? What got you into the business? Kind of your journey, your origin story up until today. I'd love to hear it.
yeah. So Abby Palanca, I run a team for Sirhan out of our Brooklyn and New York City office. We have one a flagship in Soho. I've been in the business for just about 14 years, which is crazy. I feel 26, so I don't know how I've been doing this for so long.
Awesome.
Um, And I got into the business. This was my second career, and that's what I love about real estate. I feel like so many seasoned professionals, it's never really their first start. They always come to this from, another life, which brings a whole host of experience and knowledge. And I was a former accountant. I hated my job,
Okay.
if I can be honest with you.
Always.
Um, I was never inspired. It felt very much like a job every day, just kind of getting up, going in, doing the same thing. I had the pleasure of working for some incredible companies over my career,
Oh,
but it never felt like a true passion.
okay.
Fast forward a few years, I have two young kids. I'm getting divorced, and I'm like, what do I do? I can't be a CPA and pick my kids up every day at 3 o'clock. That life balance just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So I had a small business client that they were accountants. I used to go there to their office, and I just loved the energy in the space.
Okay.
So I called and I was like, would you be willing to have a conversation? I would love to just, figure out maybe could this be for me? They were incredibly gracious, had me in, and I just kind of took a leap of faith, honestly,
Hmm.
and jumped right in. And I have to tell you, I just felt like I hit the ground running and I had really found what I was meant to do.
Wow.
Um, there's nothing easy about this business. The days are long.
Mm.
Um, Patience is short sometimes between yourself, clients. But it just felt like I had really found my calling. And it was just something that I, again, loved more than I could have ever thought I would have loved a career.
Unbelievable. And Abby, I appreciate the backstory. And you're so right on everybody has a different path and a walk in life. And there's very few people that I've personally met that they were very young and very small and said, someday I want to be a realtor, you know? And so
Mhm.
it's usually so many different paths into a life. And I appreciate exactly where you're coming from, with the financial background and the accounting specifically through CPA. Seeing that perspective, I'm sure it lends a lot of value into the industry in and of itself. Your knowledge, impeccable into that. Take us back. So 14 years, like you said, that's a chunk of time. It flies, right?
It
But
does.
can you kind of reflect with us back on the early days and what it was like kind of as you were growing and progressing throughout your career to where you are today? I mean, shattering records and doing all the amazing things that you're doing. It's nice for people to kind of hear some of the milestones and the journeys, whatever stands out to you.
Yeah, so I think the thing is there's no rule book for this, and especially back then, teams were not a really big thing. A lot of agents were working solo on their own. And I just remember just like trying to figure it out, like, okay, where do you get your clients? How do you manage your days?
Mm.
And I have to say, I did incredibly well early on, but I think a lot of the things that we, or at least I value now, I didn't learn till many years later.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so I think we get into this business, most of us, because we want, control of our time. You want to be your own boss. You want to create something and start a business, but no one tells you about the time blocking, how you actually have no time. You have no control over your time,
Oh,
really. Or if you're running a successful business, you shouldn't have that much free time,
sure.
now I feel like I'm like scheduled down to the minute in my
Mhm.
day where, I think younger agents get into this and they're like, oh my gosh, this will be amazing. We have all day to come and go as we please. Not the case.
Right. Well, and to your point with that though, Abby, and not to necessarily make light of that situation, but the truth is that there is so much confusion, and they see incredible professionals such as yourself and just doing amazing things and being a part of incredible projects with wonderful clients and really hitting notes on a financial standpoint, and that's very attractive. But when it comes down to the details of actually putting in the work and the longevity of the effort consistently, I mean, it breaks so many people. And unfortunately, this business is not for everybody. And there are certain segments that people, no matter where they come from, can take, but just know that there's work, there's effort. And I think that aligning yourself with great people is a help to that. But no one's going to motivate you more than yourself. And you're the one that
Exactly.
gotta, pick up the phone and knock on the door and reach out to people and just be present in the daily activities that move the needle. So I read you loud and clear on that. And I think early day professionals need to hear that. Also, I would argue that there's some seasoned professionals that really don't fundamentally build the business by design or hit the high peaks because they're really not understanding what you're saying there. So
Yeah.
just because you've been doing it a while doesn't mean you're great at it. And just because you're newer doesn't mean that you can't be great. I think that it's dependent on the person. And you're an exception when it comes down to that, Abby. We're talking, you're doing amazing things, so this is great. But yeah, so continue. My apologies.
I mean, I think a lot of trial and error, right? I think the one thing about this business is you have to be incredibly proactive. You have to be incredibly consistent.
Mm,
You do need to build those routines into your day to day in order to truly see results. And I think that that's something, if I was going back to tell myself, at the very beginning, that's one thing I wish I would have done then was to just be incredibly consistent
mm,
early on, build in those processes. From the jump because it's a hard thing to learn once you're a few years in and really seeing traction in your business to kind
mhm.
of rewind that and say, okay, do we really have the foundation that we need here in
Mm.
order to truly grow?
Wow. Yeah, and I think a lot of people they would kind of formulate the building the boat in the water as opposed to on the land,
Mhm.
right? And I think that a
Yeah.
lot of professionals they're building the boat as they're trying to stay afloat, and it teaches disciplines in certain areas, and there's characteristics that can be built from those tough situations. But I'm a firm believer that you can really impact yourself by doing things the right way in a right order. I mean, the hard work never leaves. There's clarity and simplicity in processes and systems and doing the things that work, but that clarity and simplicity doesn't mean ease. It's still hard work.
Right.
And
Yeah,
and,
it's
and
incredibly hard.
yeah, and I don't need to tell you. I mean, but I'm speaking for the audience and everybody who's tuning in,
Yeah.
whether they're seasoned pros tuning in or they're newer into the business. You come to the right place. Obviously, talking here with Abby. So, as you are growing your career and you had earlier on success, what does it look like in milestones? Kind of what's your alignment? And I would love to get your perspective on Sirhan. So, I kind of want to get
Yeah.
all the details as to your moves and decisions.
So I think I was gifted early on with kind of being able to see like where I wanted to go. I paid attention very early on to brokers around me, careers that I really wanted to emulate or um, or just like really wanted to aspire to, so I think the one thing I would constantly ask questions,
Mm,
really be like a student of the art of real estate, pay attention to how listings are being presented. How does staging impact, the sale price? And just being able to pick up the phone and just ask seasoned professionals, like, can we grab a coffee? I would love to learn from you. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't do, just I think the more friends we can make in this industry, the better the industry would be for it in the end. So that's something that I've always really been, I've paid attention to from early on. And the one thing that I will truly say about Sirhan,
mm,
aside from, of course, having Ryan and our in-house ID labs like that, we can go on and on and on, our studios team, it's incredibly collaborative.
mm.
This is probably the one of the most collaborative places I've really had the pleasure of working.
Wow. Okay. And that
Which is
that
not what people think ordinarily from our industry, right?
well, and that's not a commonplace in practice for most organizations and operations. And you seeing inside of that, there's a lot of closed door policy. There's a lot of, I don't want to say scarcity mindset because that's not necessarily the directive, but um, very few organizations are looking at it from we all succeed together, we're all stronger together, and that there's a cultural fit to that. And I know people throw culture, culture, culture. But there is a tangible aspect to that, to being around elevated individuals doing this at a high level that you actually enjoy being around and that you can learn from. And it's reciprocal. So, I mean, I'm a big fan of Ryan. He's been on the show twice. He's one of the
Mhm.
only Titans that's been like a multiple or repeat offender. And so
We
I'm
can all just keep learning and learning from him.
yeah, I mean, but and that's what's great. But the thing about him too, and this is not to shed light on him, but he's always learning and always growing as well. Like there's never the peak. There's kind of that old saying as the false peak, right? You're kind of seeing it, it's where it is, and there's always another place to go. There's always more to do, more to give, more to serve. And if it's past yourself, should be for everybody, then it's how many lives can we impact? Not just
Right.
consumer based, but also into the industry. And I would agree with what you're saying, Abby. Just reaching out and networking with people is the fundamental lifeblood of the business. I mean, if it's consumer based or, professionals, like, you should really take it upon yourself. Here's what I throw back at professionals like you who are at such a beautiful level that you are giving and serving of others is there's so many newer professionals who just don't imagine that. They're like, I can't call Abby. She's too busy. Like there's no way. It's never going to happen. But the idea, and correct me if I'm wrong, but so many incredible producers are willing to give and to help out and to help people lift up. I mean, it's not saying that you just give of all your time and it's throwing around. I mean, it has to be in the right place, right time scenario. But the top performers want to share and they
Yeah,
want to help others because at some point, if not currently, they're being helped as well. So
of course.
I think that's a
Yeah.
beautiful point you mentioned.
Yeah, no, I think because of the nature of the industry, there is a competitiveness that is just naturally there, with so many industries.
Mhm.
But I do think, and I don't think I'm unique in this category, but yeah, I mean, going out of your way to help a fellow agent because it is a lonely industry.
Mhm.
It really can be. If you're not on a team, if you don't have people to bounce ideas off of, it can be incredibly lonely. So I think the more we can all do to kind of break down those barriers, I think the better the industry would be for it.
I love that. And the fact that you're mentioning, the alignment that your thought process for Sirhan, and I know that the list goes on into that, but I want to talk about you now, Abby, and obviously you and the growth and expansion of your team. And, obviously anybody who's tuning into this and is like, I really appreciate where she's coming from. I'm looking for the cultural fit or an alignment as me being a top performer myself. Like, what does that look like in alignment with you and your team? I would love to hear about that.
Yeah, so look, we're always looking for, agents to come on to join us where, culture, I think, and community are incredibly important. You want to foster an environment where people can grow and feel supported and seen. And also, grow their business. I mean, that's what I'm here for. My goal really is to bring in business that people can, turn around and use that to in turn grow their business.
Mm.
I have an incredible team that I've really, I mean, I feel like, it takes a while to find the right people.
Sure.
But we really have something incredibly special now that's been wonderful to be a part of and wonderful to grow over the years. I never really saw myself as a team leader. It's not what I envisioned for myself, like way back when. I thought it would just be me, maybe one or two. But I've been incredibly fortunate. The majority of our business does come from referral.
Wow.
And I've really put together a phenomenal team that helps me support that business.
Mm. And that's uh that's beautiful. And the fact that you mentioned that, Abby, is, I think the ones that are set out to be the leader aren't necessarily the best leaders. I think it comes down to as life grows and evolves, and as we do as entrepreneurs, that calling of leadership, it should come across as natural. People want to follow the ones that are really saying, wow, someday I wish I could be like Abby. Someday I wish that I could understand these things. And instead of wishing, you align. And then ultimately, if you put the effort in, it comes to fruition. And I think that, again, the best leaders aren't necessarily the ones that are after it. It just kind of happens. But leadership, as you know, is just a constant skill and honing and crafts. And there's so many personalities and all the different things that way. It's leadership in life through family as well as organization and clientele. There's different forms of leadership and communication, but ultimately, we're never done learning. We're never done experiencing. Uh,
Yeah.
and I love hearing that from you, Abby. The humility that's coming out of that is so great because again, somebody at the top of the game, top of the field, and you're still positioning this way is beautiful. I love it.
Well, thank you. I would tell you that leadership is the thing that keeps me up at night. Um, it is the thing I work at the most.
Mm.
I think, I feel real responsibility to the people on my team. But also, again, you're always wondering, is my messaging coming across? Am I inspiring them the way I should? Am I setting them up for success? If they're not successful, it's something that weighs heavily on me.
Mhm.
And I think that the wonderful thing about being at Sirhant is working under someone who is also an active broker. Like Ryan really gets it.
Mhm.
He understands the struggles that we face day to day on a pitch, with the market shifting. And he really does set us up for success. He checks in often. Do you have everything you need? Are you happy? I mean, 4 years later, he's still asking if I'm happy here.
Wow.
So I take a cue in my leadership from him,
Mhm.
because I hope to be that level of leader for my team.
Mhm.
And I also think one other thing that a lot of agents don't maybe think about early enough is coaching.
Oof.
It was never something I thought of early on. You don't think that you get in and you really need a coach, or you feel like I should have more business or be more seasoned before I look for a coach. But I've been working with a coach for several years now. I've seen just an incredible change in myself as a leader, in my business, in the things that I value. I'm a little bit of a late learner. So things that my coach was telling me 2 years ago, maybe I'm finally starting to listen to him now.
Okay.
Um, but over the last year, I've also become a coach. So Ryan has a coaching platform.
Mm.
And I thought that this was a really incredible way to give back,
Mm.
and to also kind of help me sharpen my skills as a leader.
Yeah. Well, and Abby, when you say that, I think initially there's so many professionals that have heard of coaching and mentoring, and there's some skepticism, and then there's also some, well, I don't know, as you mentioned, if it's the right time, I need to be a little more seasoned. Um, I will at least tell you the professionals that we work with, and so many that we've had on Titans, they're all aligned with someone who has different and unique perspectives that they just don't, that they can
Mhm.
shed light on different aspects. And it can be, you can have a coach for every aspect of your life, for your personal
Mhm.
relationships, for your health and wellness, obviously for financial situations, anything into the real estate space, marketing. I mean, you name it, there's coaching for that. I think ultimately, at least from my end, you want to look at where you're thriving and shining and some of the gaps that you could then increase the person that you are just to become the better version. It's not to change who you are. It's really just kind of getting a soundboard, somebody that's truly in your corner that can give you
Yeah.
constructive criticism that's going to help you be a better person. But to the things that matter to you, um, I would agree and say that there's not a right or wrong time, I suppose, except for you just need to be ready. I think
Right.
that's the thing. Taking advice from somebody such as yourself, right, and saying, "Hey, who's been there, done that, to where I want to be, and who's kind of seen the roadblocks and the successes and failures, and who can I truly learn from?" I think to me, that's the best advice that I could give is making sure that you're learning from somebody who is far past the directive of where you are, and they obviously know more than you do in the areas you're wanting to improve. Um, and I think that that's a good thing if it's aligned in your life. And I love that you give that. And I'm assuming that that's reciprocated to your team in addition to. So
Yeah.
obviously, hiring you as a coach. Can you tell me a little bit more about that, Abby? With Serhant coaching and process, but you, like, for instance, again, if I'm listening to this and I'm like, I would love to. How do I get a hold of you? Where do I go? Like, what does it look like?
So the Sell It platform has so many fantastic coaches for all different areas. When I was searching for a coach, what was important to me was systems and processes. It's really where I lacked.
Love it.
So I really wanted someone who was heavily focused there,
Mhm.
and that's been instrumental in growing my business over the last few years. I
Cool.
think the biggest thing is that it has to be a personality fit. It has to be someone that you're going to want to meet with weekly,
Mhm.
someone that you respect the business that they're doing, you value what they have to say. Again, I think you're 100% right, where you have to be ready, like anything, right? You don't sign up for the gym just because it's January 1st and you want to do it because everyone else is doing it. If you're not going to go, what's the point?
Yeah. Well said.
So I think with anything, sign on when you're ready to really take what they say and put it to practice. But otherwise, it's really just a waste of money if you're not going to really, be willing to do the work.
Yeah. To me, I'll further kind of hit this home, at least for my perspective, the audience. Uh, Investing in ourselves is the biggest and best investment that you can make, period. And taking a look at ourselves and saying, how do we show up? What are we doing with this life in this world that we have and the people that are around us? And who can I learn from and absorb and grow from and become better? That's going to pay dividends again and again and again. So, I'm a huge proponent of that. There's so many different ways to learn and to grow and excel, from podcasts to books to conferences, and obviously alignment with team and brokerage. But having that intimate relationship with that coach, trainer, or mentor, it's game changing. And so many professionals have been there, done that, and say it. So take that for whatever it's worth. Everybody out there in the Titan Nation, I 100% agree with this. So, Abby, you've already given a ton of backstory, incredible information, details, takeaways for everybody to grow and accelerate their business. Like this is gold. But I do want to ask the second question and frame it up in such a way. If there's anything that you haven't mentioned yet, that if you could kind of look back at your career thus far and pick or choose one or two things that you did add or implement that really made a change, a positive impact, a movement in the needle, other advice that you could give the audience tuning in, what would that be, if anything, that pops up?
Oh gosh, again, so I would say the biggest takeaway for me that I wish I would have implemented sooner, again, systems, processes, consistency. I kind of sound like a little like a broken record, but even with coaching clients that I work for, I will tell you that is the biggest hang up for so many people. My first meeting with someone, I'm like, do you have systems and processes in place? And they're like, no. Like I think many of us think like a business manual or an employee handbook are for companies that are much larger than maybe just our teams, but it's a real important part of growing and making sure that the people that are coming onto your team are growing and scaling the way that you want your business to go. So that would be number one.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with people who really want the best from you
Wow.
and really want you to win. And for me, professionally, that's a lot of my colleagues. You would never think it, but the heads of other teams. I'm incredibly fortunate to have so many people just, on speed dial that I can reach out to. Because I think, again, this business can be lonely.
Mm.
I was just at a meeting with a bunch of female team leaders, and we've really all had the same pain points.
Wow.
Just like raising a family in this business can be tough. Trying to juggle all the balls that we do all the time, how isolating that can sometimes be. So I think surround yourself with people that are in the same boat. They get it. They want well for you. And I think if you can ever reach out and be that person for someone else, definitely do it, because I think this industry really needs more of those advocates.
Ugh. Abby, again, I can't thank you
This is
enough.
like a therapy session. I feel like,
This
I
is,
don't know,
but Abby,
walking away, I feel so good right now.
this is super incredible information. And again, it's just pouring out of you the authenticity and just the genuine nature of you as a person, a professional. Just it's coming out of you that way, and it's such a wonderful thing to see and experience. And I know the audience feels the same way. And I know that I'm always that mouthpiece of the feels for the audience. And Abby, this is just great. What I would do, and I would say, is I would encourage everybody to reach out, to connect, to follow you on all social media platforms, to really engage with your content. Because
Yeah,
if
please.
what Abby is saying to you right now is sticking out, don't be afraid to reach out. Grab that cup of coffee. And again, I don't want to flood Abby's DMs by any stretch, so be kind, everybody.
Tomorrow I'll have 10 Zooms set up. We'll just be going through them all day.
That's not a bad thing, but be patient. Abby's extremely busy, so I do want to say that. But I'll have all the links down in the show notes. So again, different sites and platforms and all the ways to get a hold of Abby. Um, Abby, is there anything that you want to wrap this up with? It's been an incredible episode. Any final remarks or closing statements before we call this one a finished one?
I just feel so fortunate that I'm guest 296. I mean, you are really, and I've looked back at other episodes. I mean, there are so many incredible takeaways, I think, from all of your guests. And I think these are just, if you're getting started in the industry, I would honestly just sit and run through them all, because I think there's just like, different things that you can take away that I think will build you into an incredibly well-rounded agent.
Abby, thank you. The check's in the
Now
mail.
I'm plugging you. Look at this.
I appreciate you saying that. And, Real Estate Titans has become such a wonderful platform for professionals all over the world. And it just blows me away that people like you take the time and share your journey and your insights and experience. And ultimately, people can grow and learn from that. And this just builds relationships and business, and there's so much to it. So I appreciate the plug on Real Estate Titans for sure. You are one of those incredible people that's on the show now.
Thank
So that's
you.
that's marked 296. But Abby, again, I can't thank you enough for taking the time today and just sharing your journey and your story. It was an absolute pleasure for sure.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
Awesome, Abby. And again, thank you. And I want to thank the audience as always for your time and attention, your love and support. If you like what we're doing with Real Estate Titans, as always, like, comment, share, subscribe, all the different places. I have to say it every time. The algorithm does not like it when I don't. I do have to give our sponsor a quick shout out, Lion Bolt Media. If you are a real estate professional looking to grow and scale your business with leading edge digital marketing, visit lionboltmedia.com for more information. We're live here every Tuesday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. Catch everybody on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care. Thanks, Abby.
Bye. Thanks so much.